Well, welcome to the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. I'm Big Daddy Gonzo. Hey, how you doing? It's a scintillating, as I check out the window here, a scintillating Sunday morning here in South Florida. The air is crisp and clear and sunshiny and awesome, and we're here to talk sports because football season is over. And so what are we going to talk about?
Makes me sad.
Is there anything to talk about?
There's stuff on the horizon, certainly, and there's some stuff going on right now, but football's over, and it makes me sad. Hey, listen, we're blessed. We got football. Remember, we didn't think we had a chance.
We had football.
I would say in about maybe March, April, we were like, wow, nothing's ever going to be able to be played again. No sports, no anything.
You're crooked.
I'm crooked.
I'm reaching.
All right, get me straight.
I can't fucking reach.
Wait, looking for that.
No, you totally screwed it up.
No,
Unbelievable.
Man. Come back to me. Come back.
Production values.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay, so
You could lean into the frame if you want.
we were blessed that we even had sports because we didn't think we were going to even get any of the sports, let alone football.
Unbelievable.
But they managed it. They did it. We had some speed bumps along the way. You know, some guys that were, COVID-related situations and stuff like that.
Because what did I say? These millionaire athletes, these 20-something millionaire athletes, they were going, I'm a grown-ass man. I'll do what I want. Okay, you do what you want there, grown-ass man.
Yeah, well, it worked. I mean, the NFL had a plan. They were fortunate because they were able to kind of watch the other sports fail, I guess, in certain situations. And basically what they did was they were able to just kind of, have a plan and adjust on the way, in which they did. So, and they got a season in, and now it's over, and it's behind us, and we're sad. But we have other sports, we have other things, and we always have
other sports,
UFOs. So,
UFOs.
We always have stuff to talk
awesome.
about.
Well, I've got a few right here, like right over in there. There's like some UFO stuff too. But
yeah, so
in my new artistic backdrop that I
like
have.
that a lot too.
Well,
the Jim Belushi thing for me has got to be the most important piece on that entire wall, no question.
Of course,
no question.
It's so funny in this backdrop that I have. There are two pieces here that actually there's two pieces that have been with me for over 30 years. One of them is John.
Hey, John.
College. They took the bar. And then there's this guy, Fred Flintstone.
Hey, Fred.
Because
1961 was when that basically started.
Yes.
First year of Flintstones.
And they did Chesterfield cigarette commercials. Fred and Barney.
Yes, pretty amazing. You know what? I'm sorry to cut your Fred story because I don't want to get off on this whole thing because I was watching a lot of Magilla Gorilla when I was a kid. That was my cartoon. That was my go-to guy.
Okay, but still, you weren't born in '61 when the Flintstones were in black and white.
I watched a lot of Flintstones. I probably watched all the episodes.
Right.
I was a Flintstone guy. You know what, though? I was more of a Barney guy.
Well, the Flintstones were of course, and look at you. You're my sidekick.
Well. See, I think Barney had the hotter wife, in my opinion. I mean, Betty for me.
I'm into redheads.
I don't know. For me, Betty was probably a little bit more. She's probably a better homemaker than.
All right.
What's her name was
you're
there?
interrupting. Okay, the story behind Fred here. Okay, is that since about 1985. We have had with the exception of COVID, we've had me and my friends, my social group, and extended social group, have had a regular poker game going because we're all degenerate gamblers. And sometime around the late 80s, 88, 89, a good friend of ours named Buck Steele, Bentley Steele,
what a great name, by the way.
And a very artistic individual, a big comic book fan. He's a big music fan of all sorts.
More pegged of a superhero, if you
right.
ask me.
Well, I worked
Steele.
with him. I worked alongside him at a place called Whirly Ball, which was
love
a different
that.
Oh, you've seen Whirly Ball?
I played it.
Oh my!
Oh my God! Bumper car basketball.
Yes,
one of the best inventions ever created by man. That was so much fun. I was in a league there, actually.
So was I.
Yeah.
We kicked ass.
I
was in the A and the B league.
I think it was Tuesday nights or something, if I remember correctly.
What, in Pompano?
Yes.
Get out of here.
I swear to you. Tuesday nights it was.
Dude, I used to run that place.
Really?
Yes.
I used to love
be
Whirly Ball.
I used to be
We're talking
the
like
assistant general manager.
late 80s, maybe 89,
Yes.
90. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Great sport.
We were a part of that whole Whirly Ball cult, if you will, because it was a cult. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
crazy. It was
Yeah.
nuts. Hey, any sport that you can mix drinking
And other things.
and other things.
Yeah. And other things.
There were other things.
There was a few other things.
Any sports that you can mix gratuitous drinking of beer, like bowling, is something that attracts tons of people.
And they allow you to
Blast.
operate machinery, which you should not be
Oh,
doing when
yeah.
you're drinking and doing other things. But yeah, it's just craziness. But yeah.
I got a better one for you. We used to have games, shirts versus skins.
Wow.
And the girls were always skins,
Fair.
but the and naked whirly ball, but that was in the dark because the court fronted out onto Copans Road and nobody needed to see that. But anyway, two things that Mr. Buck Steele did for us is, one, because he was a regular at the poker game, was he made this cardboard cutout of Fred Flintstone. And it used to have cards. I don't know if you can see in the hand there. He's got the hand up like this.
Mm-hmm.
It used to have cards, playing cards. It used to have 5 playing cards in it, but those have since fallen off.
Right.
And this was Fred from his gambling episode. Bet.
Yes, I remember.
Dilated pupils.
I remember.
Okay, the whole nine yards. So that's.
You know what's most impressive too about Fred
He's
is
been with us since '89.
is being able to hold those 5 cards with just those 3 fingers, no thumb. So that is a skill set
there's a
on
thumb,
its
just
own.
3 fingers,
Yeah,
yeah.
So that to me is just an amazing skill set. But when you work in a quarry,
Yeah.
it's a chance you could lose a finger or two. So I mean, it makes perfect sense.
That's the reason why they all had 4 toes.
Yeah,
4
so
fingers.
that's how that works.
So
We have a little football stuff we can
little
talk about.
football.
We had some trades.
Got to get a little fix.
We had some trades. We had
a little
a
taste.
we had a quarterback from
Rub a little on the gums.
from the Eagles get traded to a team that needed a quarterback. So he's now a Bear, Mr. Carson Wentz.
No, he's not a Bear. He plays for Indianapolis now.
What? I said the Colts. I'm sorry. I had the Bears on my mind because of Trubisky, but he's a Colt now, which
We'll
is
get
why.
to the Bears in a minute.
Which is why I think for a team like, for instance, with the Rivers at the helm this year, the way they played this year and were so close, great offensive line. I think they were 6th overall in offense efficiency and a
Oh,
quarterback
yeah.
that couldn't move.
Yeah.
So now you got a guy that can move the pocket, that can maybe, again, but there were some knocks on Carson, though. I mean, there were some issues that came up. They were talking about his personality in the locker room and not
Right.
being a leader and all this other stuff. Again, the guy was MVP 3 years ago. So, or at least in the discussion. I don't think you lose that skill set. I think you lose what's above the shoulders. And I guess apparently there's some issues there, maybe communication and leadership. So maybe a change of venue.
Maturity.
And that'll help too. Maybe that change of venue will bring back for him that skill set that we can remember him.
One would hope.
I mean, they went to the Super Bowl. Obviously, he didn't get to play, but
Right.
they did go there, and he was a good part of that. So, again, we'll see. There's still going to be a lot of moving pieces in the NFL, but the biggest issue is going to be the cap next year because the salary cap next year goes down. And we've talked about this on prior shows in terms of how teams now are finding avenues for success. And they're doing it, fortunately for them, because they're paying their quarterbacks on these rookie contracts.
Yep.
Because unfortunately, you're tying up too much money in any one position. It's usually the quarterback position. And you're seeing teams right now like Seattle that are having to pay guys, even as good as Russell Wilson is, when you got holes on your team and you can't fill them because you don't have the money to do so, it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is. He's going to suffer. He's going to get hit, and obviously things are not going to go well. So salary cap next year. This year, salary cap was $198.2 million. Okay, $200 million. Sounds like a lot, and it is a lot of money, relatively speaking, but for all these teams trying to fill out a roster, there's a lot of teams that are in trouble. Next year, it goes down potentially to $180 million. It'll be somewhere between 180 and 190 based on TV revenues and stuff like that. They'll get that sorted out. But it's certainly a reduction. I've got a listing of teams here that I want to go through that are going to be in pretty good spots next year for salary cap. But then there are some teams towards the bottom, like the Saints, for instance. You know what the Saints are this year?
They're in big trouble.
They're $65 million against the cap, okay? And they don't have a quarterback.
And everybody wonders why Drew Brees made the move that he did to adjust his contract to pay him the veteran minimum
Yeah.
to free up money for the organization. And that's because the organization has paid him north of $150 million over the life of his career there.
Probably even more than that. And he's
Okay.
made a ton more.
Right.
Yeah.
So he has done them, which is a rare instance where a player has done an organization a huge favor.
Yeah.
A huge favor. And I'm sure that he's obviously going to receive some sort of compensation for that huge favor. But he saved them from destitution.
Oh, no question. No question. Well, Brady's done it too. In New England, he did it for years. But the cap is no joke, obviously. I mean, that's the level playing field. That's at least how you're supposed to approach it. These teams are.
Right.
But going down, the drop in the salary cap is going to hurt some teams next year. Teams, for instance, the top 5 teams this year that are in favor of the cap, that have some money to spend, Jacksonville. $80 million they have to spend.
80.
And guess what? They get the first pick in the draft.
$1
And guess what? They got a coach now. And guess what? Even though it's still Jacksonville, you'd have to think that he's going to have a beat. I'm talking about Urban Meyer.
Right.
Is going to have a beat on, obviously not even this year's draft, but just players in general. That's what he was good at. He was good at recruiting. He was good at recognizing talent and making the most out of it. And these kids that are in the NFL are only a year and 2 and 3 removed from playing college anyway. They're still kids. So you're not going to have issues with respect, even though he's not been at the NFL level. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think that's going to be a seamless transition. And it seems like they're giving him a lot of power. So it's going to be interesting to see, one, what they do with, obviously, Trevor Lawrence getting the first pick in the draft and how that develops, how he has a relationship with Trevor. And then, two, draft. Because Jacksonville, now you have to assume, is going to be viable in drafts and are in positions where they're going to be taking earlier in the rounds next couple of years for sure.
Well,
so
they avoided a PR disaster when they hired a strength and conditioning coach who I'm not even going to mention his name, but initially one of Meyer's first hires was a strength and conditioning coach who he was very familiar with at his various stops in the college ranks. Mm-hmm. And this strength and conditioning coach happened to have some complaints against him for, shall we say, racial inequities.
Yes.
Creating an uncomfortable environment for certain African American players.
Yeah.
Dropping N-bombs in the weight room. Fat, middle-aged white guy dropping N-bombs in the weight room. I'm sure that was over very well. Well, it didn't go over very well. And Mr. Meyer was, I'm sure, reminded by his racial minority owner, Shad Khan, who is what is he? He's Pakistani?
Yeah.
Is he Pakistani?
Middle Eastern, Pakistani. I think he's Pakistani.
Of Middle Eastern descent.
Yeah.
He's a brown person.
Yeah.
And he's very sensitive to minority issues. So, needless to say, they didn't fire him. He resigned / parted ways. In other words, here's the money we were going to pay you for your contract. Go away.
Well, they did that partially to protect Urban too, because
Yes.
they don't want to at least have it appear to be more
was a
than
PR
what it is.
disaster right out of the gate.
So that was not the first step that obviously that him and or the organization wanted to make.
It's like showing up at your job interview picking your nose.
Yeah, or drunk. Or
drunk.
Yeah, same thing. And picking your nose.
Hey,
Yeah.
my worst quality, my best qualities
Yeah.
are I'm a social drinker.
Yeah, pick and flick, baby. Pick and flick. Yeah.
What? This one here?
Yeah.
Oh, here. Yeah. No, it was definitely a stumble out the gate.
Yeah. So hopefully that's not that's going to be the norm for Jacksonville, because you want to see teams competitive, obviously, in the NFL. Right. I mean, that's a storyline that we can follow all year. Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and certainly Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
So
well, Meyer is a culture guy. Okay, let's face that fact. He is a culture guy. Mm-hmm. He is a guy everywhere he's gone, from Utah to Florida to Ohio State. He has brought culture.
Yes.
He brought the culture, and it's the Urban Meyer culture. And he's not necessarily a taskmaster. He's not necessarily a player's coach, but he's a guy who rides that line, and like I said, he establishes that culture.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you what, Ohio State made a seamless transition to what was it? Brian Day was the offensive coordinator, assistant head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that culture, they made a seamless transition when he came down. And you ever notice that Urban Meyer has a heart issue every time he wants to change jobs?
You know, that was the concern of him coming in, was like not wanting to commit to him in the sense, because again, not so much on his side of his wanting to commit, but being
Right.
able to commit because of the health issues he's had before.
Right.
He's a young guy. What is he, like in his late 50s, 58, 59?
56, 57.
Yeah, he's
something
not
like
much
that.
older than we are. So, or at least you.
Where the hell went wrong with us?
But I mean, that's the guy. If you want a starting point,
He's a culture guy.
this is the guy you want to
Culture.
pick. Yeah, and they're in position, like I said, because they got tons of money to spend,
Culture.
and they got draft picks. They're going to probably get potentially, at least what they're saying, not only just a franchise quarterback, but a guy that is going to be an elite franchise quarterback.
A guy who comes from another culture with a coach who is more player sympathetic. He's more of a close uncle or a dad or a father figure in
Yeah.
Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah.
I mean, you ask any of his players.
Oh yeah, they all love
When
him.
they come to the NFL, it's like the minute that your season is over, your last playoff game, Super Bowl, whatever, his season's over. Where are you going? I'm gonna go over to Columbia and see Dabo. Why? Because that's their father figure.
Yeah, for sure.
And you look at Clemson games, big Clemson games, and if there is a former player that is available to be there from the NFL or a retired NFL player that has been part of that culture, they are there.
Yeah, support's big.
There. Deshaun Watson, there.
Yeah.
Okay, they are all about that culture. And I'll tell you what, there's some concern with Trevor Lawrence. Okay, and I've heard these concerns played out on the talk shows, on PFT, on Get Up, and the comparison was made between him and Justin Fields, and between him and Deshaun Watson. He has not been a quarterback that has made his team discernibly better. He, especially in big moments, he has not carried the team. He has not elevated his game. So there's still a lot to be learned by this young man. And I think that they are pairing him with the right quarterback-oriented coach, because we all know that Meyer was first a quarterback coach and then he became a head coach. Okay, so
We've made this analogy before when it comes to talent in college and how these kids develop to get to that point when they become the star quarterbacks of the Alabamas and the Clemsons and
Right.
the Ohio States. If you see in the NFL in the landscape, some of the top quarterbacks in the league, okay, and I'm going to go over, say, the last, say, 5 to 10 years. Ben Roethlisberger, Miami of Ohio. Russell Wilson, small school, per se, not your top.
two schools, Wisconsin and
Yeah.
South Carolina.
A lot of quarterbacks coming from teams that necessarily, maybe not front page news every Saturday, but there's reasons for why these quarterbacks come into the league and they're so good. A guy like Cam Newton, for instance, okay, when we've talked about Cam a lot. It looks like physically imposing a linebacker at times. Fastest guy in the field all the time. Strongest guy in the field all the time.
They call them edge now.
Yeah,
He's
Superman. He was
6
he was
foot
dubbed.
6, 250 pounds.
But here's the
He can
thing.
rush the passer and be the passer.
But there's two things that go against a guy like that. First of all, he's always the biggest, and he's always the fastest at every level that he plays at. Probably starting back to Pop Warner, okay?
Right.
So being always the fastest and being always the strongest, especially maybe early on where that's a natural trait, it's not something that you necessarily have to work for, sometimes I think that gets into your mindset. And especially when you're being told that all the time. Wow, this kid's the greatest. Wow, have you seen so-and-so? Let's use him as an example, Cam. When you get to situations now where you have to work hard and you have to be able to create on your own and you have to be able to kind of lead instead of being told that you are such a good leader, then you get to see who the real player really is. And when you lose the ability to outrun everybody, because again, in the NFL level, everybody's fast. When you lose the ability to be stronger than the guy next to you, well, guess what? In the NFL, everybody's strong. So the playing field evens out slightly, and your physical attributes and skills that were so far superior, now maybe you only have a leg up on certain guys.
Right.
Eventually, when you start to erode and lose some of those physical characteristics, well, guess what else goes? The quality of your play.
Yep.
And you saw that with Cam, and you see that with other guys too. So back to my point about these quarterbacks that are in programs like in Alabama where they've got 5-star players all around them, offensive linemen being drafted, wide receivers being drafted, all the skill position guys. Those are the teams that are taking from. Why? Because those are the schools that are getting the best talent year after year after year. Best coaches, best programs, best talent. You get to the NFL, you get quarterbacks that have had tougher roads, that have to work hard, that had to play with receivers that didn't have 10 yards of separation every play.
Well, that ties into the maturity issue.
There's a lot of factors that go into this, but I just think if you look across the landscape of the NFL, the quarterbacks that have been long-term successful are guys that may not necessarily come from some of those top-tier programs like the Alabamas and the Ohio States. And I think that kind of lends into your argument with Trevor coming from Clemson. Again, getting the best talent, the best receivers, the best offensive linemen. Put him in a team like Jacksonville, where they have the 27th overall ranked offensive line. How good is he going to be? Again, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a lot of potential in Jacksonville, which is a fancy French word for you ain't done crap yet. I mean, they did play with 2 rookies on the offensive line last year, including a rookie left tackle.
Yeah, who they drafted again, which they're doing it.
Right.
They have money, so they're going to draft talent and pay them.
And so you're looking at they only have 1 first-round draft choice this year, I believe. But you know that in the later rounds of the draft, they're going to look to fill holes. Okay. This is the rebuild season, but they have a lot of pieces on which to rebuild. Mm-hmm. They have 1, if not 2, good running backs. I mean, James Robinson's been a revelation.
Big, huge.
Rookie free agent out of nowhere.
Huge, yeah.
Okay. You have a deep wide receiver room. Their wide receiver room is deep.
It's yes.
I mean, who are they losing via free agency?
I don't know. Well, Chark's not going anywhere.
Chark's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He's in his 3rd year.
Yeah.
You've got Chenault, who is going into his 2nd year.
Phenomenal slot receiver, can do it all too. Yeah.
Conley.
Yeah, Mike Conley. He's been there a little while.
Still under contract.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got guys.
I would imagine what he's going to try and do, Urban Meyer, is build from within, build the offensive line,
sure,
protect Trevor as best as he possibly can, because the pressure to play him is going to be enormous. Right. And certainly he's going to want to play him because regardless of what happens, he's their best option.
Will be protect the quarterback.
No question, because they're going to understand what they have, and they're not going to want to put him in a situation where he's going to fail. So,
right.
I mean, his numbers may not be spectacular, but they won't have to be in order for them to grow as an organization and to develop that culture you talked about with Urban Meyer.
Well, and with the Urban Meyer culture, you will get obviously with a new defensive coordinator, you're going to get a revamping of the defense. So your initial priority is going to be
protect Trevor,
protect your quarterback.
Yeah, 100%.
Which means you're going to get multiple offensive linemen into the mix. You're going to develop that run game so that Trevor doesn't have to drop back and throw the ball 40 times a game.
Exactly.
Then, as with all Urban Meyer teams, he's going to develop outstanding special teams. Okay, outstanding special teams.
Field position makes things easier for your quarterback.
Exactly.
No question.
Then he will address the defense. They have a few pieces on the defensive side of the ball, but once they get their new scheme in place with whoever their defensive coordinator is, I don't know at the moment, then they will begin to address the personnel. I don't know that the personnel that they have currently is going to mesh with whatever the new DC's scheme is going to be. I'm figuring it's probably going to be something similar to what they've run in Florida and in Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
At Ohio State. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But right now, their priority, like you said, and you're probably going to see lots of O-linemen.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see a tight end selected that is both a complete tight end, probably in the later rounds, because you want to add to that blocking scheme. And
special
you're going to move forward from there. The culture is set. So from there, you know what? And I'm going to be a polite host, and we're going to discuss the Pittsburgh Steelers right now.
Okay, who are in a lot of trouble.
Who are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, who, by the way, are $14 million over the cap next year.
So how's it gonna feel to have Dwayne Haskins be your starting quarterback?
Yeah, it's not going to be good at all. I'm holding out.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing about it.
I'm holding out for Darnold. I've always said I wanted Darnold.
A lot of people are saying you guys should make the trade for Darnold.
I've always been a Darnold guy. Everybody you talk to about Sam Darnold say the kid can make every throw on the field.
Oh yeah.
Everybody says he's one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks on the field.
Oh yeah.
It's just that, again, environment in the NFL, especially at that position, is everything.
Yep.
And between ownership issues and just lack of personnel issues, new coaches every year, offensive coordinators changing all the time, the kid hasn't had a good start. Now, he's 23 years old. So when I say kid, he's still a kid, okay?
Still.
A lot of football in front of this guy. And the right environment, even though, again, I'm not pro Steeler coaching, I've been very adamant about that. I think they should clean house.
I have never seen a rabid fan of such a storied franchise hate the coaching staff so much.
Hate's strong.
What about Kevin Colbert? What about Colbert or whatever he wants to call him?
Hate is strong. It's a dislike. It's a tired of the facade of just. It's too much work. It's too much work to be so bravado all the time and have that approach.
Who would you have them replace him with?
Well, again, I haven't gone because I know they're not going to, because we've had 3 coaches in the last 117 years, so they don't change coaches.
The rookies aren't into changing coaches,
and I'm okay with that, because you can't. Stability in the NFL is important. We just said about Darnold's issues, about coaching changes and offensive coordinators and systems and stuff. Steelers have a culture that works. I'm not in defiance of that. But
it's a manly culture.
Things do run their course. Relationships do end. I mean, this is commonplace in our society, and it's no different in sports. And I just think that we've had issues at the quarterback position for the last few years. And I think if anybody should be changing that or making an effort to make that better, it's your head coach. That's the hierarchy of responsibility and leadership in football. It's head coach, quarterback, everybody else. And for years, it's the same. There's been no changes there.
Right.
Same coach, same quarterback.
Yep.
And the Steelers and Ben haven't won a big game in 6 years. Okay? And we've had a lot of issues along the way and a lot of players that have just gotten out of Dodge, that we've looked at them, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and said, oh, it's the player, it's the player, it's the player. Well, you know what? I think I'm changing that stance a little bit, because
might have to.
It can't be in every situation the responsibility of just one party, or at least the blame goes to just one party. There's 2 people involved, 2 parties involved. So there's some blame to go around here. And I'm kind of shifting.
Both those guys were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and again, they found spots. So I'm going to go ahead and say, listen, there was enough blame to go around on both sides. And I think those 2 players that left were a little bit misrepresented in terms of the storylines that were told. I'm digressing. The Steelers are in trouble, okay? They got no money, and they don't have a quarterback. If Ben comes back or if he doesn't. That's just the fact. He's older now. He's not the kind of guy where, again, Brady's tough to compare to because he's the GOAT, but a guy here who his body is his temple, and he's been all year round since he started training and getting ready for football. Ben, he grows his beard in the offseason. Okay, that's what he does in the offseason. That's his focus.
He eats Rothless burgers.
Yeah. So
he eats his own signature hamburger.
Yeah.
Which is like 4 patties and 2 eggs and 5 pieces of apple smokewood bacon.
I'm not telling you how to live your life.
And my heart's just slowed down talking about it.
But there's a reason why that he's been hurt. There's a reason why that he's at 37, looks 37 in the NFL, and it probably should retire, in my opinion. Whether it's going to happen or not, honestly, if you had told me today, if you asked me, is Ben going to retire? No, he's coming back. Well, he's getting paid. He's under contract. So why would he not come back? He may cut a few bucks, but it's not going to help the team.
Well, listen, the positive thing that could happen, the radical positive thing would be that the Steelers bite the bullet and either get Ben to agree to retire for a payoff or buy him out.
Take the cap hit.
Cut him. Yeah,
Cut
take
him.
the cap hit.
Bite the bullet next year.
Yes.
2 years, the cap goes back up again.
But you make the trade for Sam Darnold.
Oh, no question. No question.
Make the trade.
No question.
I would send them a 2 and a 3. I'd send them a second rounder.
We have some cap space. Pouncey just retired. Both brothers retired, actually.
Right.
There is a few dollars coming off the books. Not a lot, but a few dollars.
You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to sign Juju Smith-Schuster. You're not going to be able to sign John Connor. Re-sign those guys. Those guys are gone. Just color them gone.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Connor, again, it's going to depend on what the demand is for these players. And neither of those players had great years last year. Now, Juju, Connor was hurt, but he's always hurt. Juju, again, was overshadowed, especially earlier in the year, because we had guys like Deontay Johnson really step up and became a legit number 2. I guess so again, but we didn't throw the ball down the field, and Juju is our down the field guy last year.
Right.
So when you're getting rid of the ball 2.5 seconds every play because your offensive line can't block you.
Juju's done. The market is going to be considerable for him.
Yeah.
You already have 3 hot young wide receivers right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Claypool, Washington, and Johnson. And who knows who else you might pull out of the camp for some reason. I don't know, whoever the wide receiver coach is for the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Charles
that
Claypool.
Guy needs a job.
Charles Claypool looked real good this year. Yeah, for sure.
Because whoever that wide receiver coach is, they developed some great wide receivers.
Yeah, that was impressive this year.
Okay.
But again, the Steelers are in trouble, and they need to realize who they are at this point. They need to back away from Ben. Whatever they're going to do, Ben needs to realize that things aren't going his way anymore at this point, and it's time to move on.
You might not be able to sign Bud Dupree. They want to put a franchise tag on Bud Dupree.
Yeah, well, that's a guy you need to sign.
They might not be able to kick that can down the road.
We need to protect the defense right now. The defense is still very young, and our focus needs to be on that side of the ball.
You need to find some way to move heaven and earth to get Bud Dupree under contract.
Figure it out.
Okay, you are literally now in a position where you have to decide between Bud Dupree and Ben Roethlisberger.
It's not a decision for me.
Yeah.
But that's not. But the issue is you're held hostage by the quarterback, and in that situation, and I get it. Listen, I'm not trying to discredit Ben's career as a Steeler because he's a Hall of Famer. He's first ballot Hall of Famer.
Sure.
That's not what I'm not trying to slight
dollars.
Ben. It's just a realistic approach to the organization and where we are right now.
Business.
And that's what it comes down
to.
to.
The business that we chose.
Ben has made a lot of money as a Pittsburgh Steeler. And I'm sure that post-career, he has a job in the organization if he chooses it. And he'll probably be higher up in the organization. He's not a dummy either. Ben's a smart guy. And he has matured to some degree.
TV.
Whatever the case may be, Ben's fine, and he owes that to the Steelers. I think he needs to give them back in something in return. And that would be recognizing who he is at this point and what's best for the team.
He's going to take the Breeze route.
Yeah.
He's going to take the Drew Brees route. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Well, I think Drew Brees gets just a little bit more slack than I think Ben would through his career. I just think because, again, what he did for the city, and that's a storied.
He's never wrecked a motorcycle 3 days before a game.
There's a lot of issues there.
He's never showed up to practice hungover.
There's an issue in the bathroom, too, earlier in his career, remember, with a girl and some other stuff, too. So there's a lot of question marks along the way.
Yeah, because Drew Brees is a family man and a good Christian. He was at one point he was the vice president of the Christian Fellowship of Athletes.
Okay.
How about that?
I like it.
Meanwhile, has Ben Roethlisberger been to church in his 36 years?
No.
A couple times, I'm sure. A couple times.
Maybe.
Please, God, let me get drafted in the first round.
He's probably crashed a wedding or two. Yeah. That I would say.
I'm the quarterback, you know.
I'm Ben Roethlisberger. Did I tell you my Ben Roethlisberger story?
Oh, no, you have a brush with greatness?
Well, no, because they thought I was Ben Roethlisberger. Early in his career, I used to go back to Pittsburgh quite a bit and see some games because my buddy Mike, who could be listening, hey Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I swear he hasn't been drinking.
So this is early in his career, maybe like year 1, year 2. We were at a bar, Clark Bar, okay, in downtown Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And we're hanging out there, and Mike, me, 5, 6 other guys, whatever, his local friends, and these girls come in, and all of a sudden I hear Ben, these girls screaming, Ben. And I turn around, and I'm looking for Ben, too. And I'm going, where the hell is Ben Roethlisberger? And then these drunk girls came over, and the long and short of it is we got it played off for a good hour or so until they left. I signed some stuff.
You signed
yeah. But I signed it my name, so I didn't sign it Ben.
Great.
Oh, yeah, no question. So when they got it back to their hotel or wherever they were staying, they're like, who the hell is Matt Mazzaracchio? And they're like, oh, that's not Ben Roethlisberger. So anyway, so that's
I didn't say Ben Roethlisberger.
Good times. So, let's move on from
all right, we talked about your stuff. Now let's talk about my stuff.
Yes.
We will go from the Miami Dolphins to the Miami Heat because we need to get to the NBA.
We have some NBA stuff.
But the Miami Dolphins saga with Tua Tagovailoa and Deshaun Watson continues. continues.
Sign Deshaun Watson.
Yes, I understand.
You talked about moving heaven and earth. Okay, they need to move another thing to make sure this happens.
Oh, well, there's one other thing that may happen. Mr. Xavier Howard, first team All-Pro cornerback, he of the 10 interceptions last season, awesome season. Guy was money. And he's got two problems now. Not just one, but two. And this is a guy who seems to continually get into issues with the law. But his first issue is that he is now hinting, I guess, through his agent that he wants to renegotiate his contract because he definitely doesn't want to be the second highest paid corner on the team behind Byron Jones, who was a disappointment, by the way.
Yeah. Plus, the Dolphins, I don't think they're going to pay two corners that kind of money. There's no way.
No.
Teams can't.
But here's the other thing. Well, I mean, and the issue with Chris Greer is that Chris Greer will not acquiesce to somebody who is threatening to hold out or whatever to get a new contract, to get a renegotiated contract. Because if he does it with him, then he's got to do it with everybody else who has a career year.
You don't set the
and
precedent.
You don't set that precedent.
100%.
You don't want to make yourself the soft touch.
Mm-hmm.
The other issue is he is back in trouble with the law. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it in trouble with the law. His former agent, back in June of last year, this has been swept under the rug, had a shooting incident at his home. Somebody pulled up while his wife and his kid were at home. Somebody pulled up into his front yard, got out of the car. A large African-American gentleman got out of the car and fired one shot through his front door and then left. And there were, due to phone records and the investigation, it turned out that there were 5 people that have connections to Mr. Howard and to Mr. Bilbo, okay, whom, by the way, have gone separate ways. Mm-hmm. Howard has a new agent right now. But Howard has been, he's been petitioned, he's had requests for interviews by the police department that he has denied, that he has refused. He has not been named a person of interest, but it seems that one or more of these 5 people, as part of the phone records, are friends of his.
It's shady.
It's shady.
They'll put it
hell.
together. The investigators will be able to put the pieces together. It's not going to end up well for him.
So here's the package that is going to go to the Houston Texans for Deshaun Watson.
I hope you're right for the Dolphins. Tell me.
Tua Tagovailoa, Xavier Howard, where he can then go to them and ask them for a renegotiated contract.
Right. And a first-round pick.
The number 3 overall choice this year, and a second-round choice next year.
Okay. Do it. Done. Where do I sign?
Exactly.
Where do I sign?
We then do not have to give up the 18. We do not have to give up any 2s. You want a 3? We got 2 3s. We'll give you a 3.
That's fine.
Okay, we'll throw you a little extra, but you're not getting multiple first-rounders. We're going to give you those 2 guys, which, by the way, reports. I follow Tua Tagovailoa, by the way. I follow Tua Man, at Tua Man on Instagram. Young man has bulked up. It's amazing what happens when you have a full off season to work out, work on your conditioning, work on your strength, gain weight. Let's remember last year he was just trying to get to the point where he could get on a football field. Okay, recovering from a catastrophic hip injury. Okay, and he looked skinny. Okay. Not so anymore. Last year he clocked in at 205 pounds.
Right.
From what I've seen on the field in the training videos with the jacked arms and the wider chest, I'm going to say that young man is
220.
probably 220 now,
Right.
over 215.
Here's the thing: no matter
He's
how
looking jacked.
no matter how stronger he gets, one thing that he was his probably best attribute was his accuracy. So
And
first
his
of
brain.
all,
he runs. Listen, the kid runs through progressions, and he's had a great mind for football from the jump. Okay, Nick Saban does not bring in dummies at the quarterback position. Let's just remember that.
okay, smarts is one
Okay,
thing, but we've
yes.
also mentioned about how it's difficult for these types of schools like in Alabama to have to produce quarterbacks that have that fight, that have that urge, that have faced adversity. He's different. He's faced adversity. That's not the question.
Hardcore.
And he's a mature kid. That's not an issue either. So,
Right.
again, let's line up the positives. Everybody says he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks that college football had over the last several years. You've seen that in the NFL. Kid can make the throws.
Yes.
His knock was injuries, okay, because he was coming off a catastrophic injury, and he played last year. They did pull him in situations you weren't sure how coaching was going to handle him, but again, they've made their decision. They've seen enough tape on him to know who he was, at least at that point.
Yep.
Now, you're saying he's gotten stronger, maybe he's gotten faster, okay, that's fine, that will develop. He's still a kid. He's going to grow into whatever he's going to be.
He's got a full off season now
And that'll-
to concentrate on his conditioning,
which will help
his
him
size.
immensely. This is not going to be, again, a knock on Tua,
No.
but you have an opportunity to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football.
Yep.
And the Dolphins, like we have said, have not had a top 20 guy at that position in 25 years.
Yep.
Okay? It's been their Achilles heel. Shall we mention Drew Brees? We kind of alluded to him before in a different light. But the Dolphins, that's
It's like
ugly in their mouth,
it's
too.
It's like an ex-girlfriend that went on to be a supermodel.
Yes.
No.
Everything the Dolphins have done in the last 18 months has been positive. Okay, they've
Right.
taken huge steps, way ahead of everybody's.
Listen, it's not going to hurt him to stand pat.
They got plenty of picks. They got plenty of money.
Right.
They got the right coach, and they have the right players right
yeah.
now. You need a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
You do everything you can to get him.
But I will say this. It's not going to hurt them to stick with Tua and go with the development. It won't hurt them. It'll just be sticking with the plan, okay? What we're talking about with Watson is an upgrade, an acceleration of the plan.
At the most important position
Okay?
on the field.
Right. And it will get you to where you've been looking to be 2 more years down the road. Okay, who's to say with the development of Tua Tagovailoa as to whether or not he develops into an upper echelon, even not even elite, just upper echelon.
And I believe he will.
Yes.
But he's not Deshaun Watson.
No.
And he's not Deshaun Watson now.
No.
And in an environment in the NFL where I really think it's going to be harder to get people in the stadium, and the Dolphins have had this problem for years, as it is anyway.
Those number 4 jerseys will fly off the rack.
That's number 1. But number 2, when it's time to put people back in the seats, you're going to have people back in the seats.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to sell tickets on every level, not just
Well, they will anyway with Tua, but and I'm telling you right now, if they stand pat, and you know me, I see that number 3 pick as an opportunity to trade back down. Okay, I see plenty of players that can help this team. And you can build draft capital if you stick with the kid and you develop the kid. That's fine.
I get it.
There's no lose. There's all win.
If the Dolphins had stepping blocks or hurdles that they were going to have to get to in order to get to the quarterback, I'd say, well, listen, let's wait. Maybe you're not ready, okay?
But he's there.
Maybe you don't have enough money. Okay, well, that's not the problem.
No,
maybe you need depth and picks because obviously you're initiating the steps of a rebuild. Well, they didn't initiate the steps; they blew past that stage.
Right.
Okay, so they're ahead of that already.
Right.
And they have picks. So the only thing left to do in the progression in their plan 18 months prior was to get the quarterback. Okay, and then they tried to do it last year with Tua. And again, they may have him, but the key word in that sentence is they may have him,
right,
as opposed to going to get him. And you're going to get a guy that is going to be there for the next, 7 to 10 years, safe to say?
It's a 70% probability versus a 99% probability.
I'm going 99%.
Right.
I'm sorry. I like those odds.
99.5%.
I like those odds better.
Right.
So
a bird in the hand.
trade it, make it happen, get one of the best quarterbacks
Get rid
in
of
football.
Xavier Howard too. It's breaking my heart. It breaks my heart to say that. Okay, those words hurt coming out of my mouth.
Right.
I'm a fan. Okay, and he may be a troubled young man. He may be having problems with his fiancee. We all saw that the charges were dropped from that. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've all had crazy baby mama or crazy wife or crazy girlfriend or whatever. Okay, it turns out she punched him around while he was on crutches, and all he did was this.
Yeah, well, smart.
And she called the cops.
Of course.
Get off me. and she was punching him
Yeah.
while he was on crutches. Now, of course, he probably said something smart, like "F you," whatever.
Remember, two sides to the story.
Yeah, two
and
sides to every story.
both groups
and I
probably
don't,
have
and
a-
I don't condone domestic violence in any way, shape, or form.
Not
even
at
if you
all.
are on crutches,
Not
you're
at
a
all.
grown ass man,
Exactly.
and and an elite level professional athlete. But he has now exhibited or been associated with some troubling stuff, and I think it's time to cut bait with the young man. I really do. I
agree.
mean, I wish him, if the package goes through with he and Tua going to Houston, along with a first rounder and various other lower round draft choices, then good luck. I hope you straighten it out. Hope you have a great career. Aloha, But yeah, that's coming to fruition. Now, transitioning to the National Basketball Association.
Yeah.
The Miami Heat. They outlasted the, shall we say, injured, shorthanded Los Angeles Lakers, the world champions last night.
I would
Anthony
say
Davis was out.
Minus Anthony Davis, but I will say this: that the Lakers were 7-2 coming into that game without AD.
Right.
So yes, AD not being there certainly gives them a little bit of a disadvantage, at least in the glass and other
Right.
situations. But the Heat showed some moxie in that game. This was like game 7 in a row on the road for them.
Yep.
They got out early in that game. Kendrick Nunn had a big first quarter. They got out to an early lead. And the Lakers, like they've seemed to be at times, a little bit kind of lackadaisical. Again, it's easy to say these sorts of things when you're looking at them not put balls in the basket. But again, they were a little slow out of the gate. Heat got out of a lead. Second half comes, the Lakers, we're going to start playing some basketball. LeBron James takes over. They take the lead back. And what do the Heat do? The Heat come out of the fourth quarter with a depleted bench, with no Dragic, Kelly Olynyk in the starting five, and they jump up on the Lakers, and they have
Captain mediocre.
8 minutes of just in-your-face, Spoelstra, hard-nosed defense
Right.
basketball, get a few stops, and they hold on to win that game. Butler played amazing in that game. Adebayo
Listen,
played amazing in
Right.
that game last night.
Listen, Kelly Olynyk, okay, first of all, I don't dislike Kelly Olynyk, but I know for a fact that Kelly Olynyk playing for any other coach in the NBA would just be okay. He would just be
Listen,
okay.
I'm an Olynyk
he
guy.
plays extra hard.
Yeah.
He hustles. He's got it all going on. But before he got to Miami, did you ever really hear of Kelly Olynyk?
No.
Okay.
But again, they found a spot for Kelly.
He was just okay.
First of all,
before
when
he
you have a
got
name like Kelly and you're a dude, you got to have a little toughness in you. Especially
Oh, yeah.
early on, you're getting
Oh.
picked on a little bit.
listen. This is not a knock. Okay, he is and like a lot of players that come to Miami that have had okay careers. Goran Dragic being one of them.
For sure.
Goran Dragic was okay. He played for the Phoenix Suns, I believe it was, for 6 years.
He was really good for Greg
He was
Dragic.
really good in
He's
Europe.
still good. Yeah. Oh, obviously, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. He's a
but when
very
he
good
got to
European player.
Miami, he was a stud.
Yeah.
All-star votes,
Well,
stuff like that.
This is what's hurting the team now is when you had potentially the sixth man of the year.
Can't get him on the floor.
Now he's hurt. And like I said, you got Kelly in the starting five. There's been some injury issues. There's been some COVID issues. All the teams are facing it. I think, honestly, the Heat are going to be fine. It's a situation where in the NBA again this year is what is home court advantage in the playoffs really
Nothing.
going to mean?
Nothing.
Not a whole lot.
Oh,
so
you get to sleep in your bed.
if you're the 5, if you're the 6, if you're the 3, to me, the most important thing is not going to be seedings, it's just going to be matchups. It's going to be how teams match up against one another. And as you saw last year, the Heat at full strength, they match up pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's not the issue. You still got Spoelstra in charge. They just got to get healthy. They just got to get things going. You got to assume that guys like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, guys in the system are going to continue to get better.
And they will. And you mentioned Kendrick Nunn before.
Yes.
Okay. Kendrick Nunn is the Rodney Dangerfield of this team. Even on his own team. Okay, his only fan is Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
Is his only fan, and I mean that's a good fan to have.
Oh, sure.
But it just seems like they keep trying to find a way to replace this young man, and all he has done because of the injury to Goran Dragic,
Yeah.
because of the, they even started was it Okpala over him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gabe Vincent, I
Gabe
think, drew a
Vincent
start
over him.
You look at Gabe Vincent. He looks like if.
Gabe's not bad off the bench.
Listen, I'm okay with Gabe, but he kind of looks like what's the porn star guy that just got arrested for all this awful stuff?
Oh,
Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy.
Yes, he looks like he's like a second cousin removed from Ron Jeremy.
Sure.
With that, yeah. But again, the dude can play. So he can find these guys, and they're bench players. They can play.
Right.
But they're bench players. They're not
But yeah,
starters.
Kendrick Nunn has come up huge. And the more playing time he gets, the more we're seeing that he can possibly be a special player.
Yeah, these guys are all going to develop under the Heat system and how they develop players.
I mean, this is only his second year. I mean, what is the deal? He's not hitting a high enough percentage of 3-pointers?
No, again,
he's bad on the free throw line.
It's matchups.
He doesn't penetrate and get tough baskets. I mean, the kid was blocking shots last night.
Yeah.
Okay, what did he have? 3 blocks last night? Something like that? Crazy.
I know he had a big first quarter. I think he was north of 20 points.
He bangs on defense.
Yeah. Again,
let the guy start is what I'm saying. Just start him, Spo. Start him.
The Heat are going to be fine. I mean, right now they're sitting, I think, 10th in the East, but they're like 3 games out of the 4 spot. So It's early. They had a tough little schedule stretch. They had some COVID issues, like we talked about, some other injuries.
There's nonsense that they want to trade for Boogie. They want to trade for this guy and that guy and PJ Walker. You know, they want to bring Boogie and PJ Walker in from Houston. Well,
PJ Tucker.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Who?
No, we're good.
Who are you going to trade?
No, we're good. We're good. Get
Who
Crowder.
Are you going to trade for them?
Get Crowder healthy. Get Dragic healthy.
Crowder's not coming. Crowder went to Phoenix.
Oh, he got traded.
He's one of the reasons why Phoenix is so good.
That's why they're struggling. Now you're right. Crowder did get traded last year. Sorry, I wasn't up on that.
Crowder got traded.
I got excited there. But
let me tell you what: if Jay Crowder was part of this team, they would not. They would be 4 games over 500,
Yeah, no question.
rather than 3 under.
Yeah, no question. Well, they still do have Udonis Haslem, who has logged a total of 11 minutes this year.
11
total.
minutes.
Yeah. So he definitely
he warms up with a walker. He's just like. It's like, yeah, we have to take a timeout. Why? Because we got to get him in. UD, love you, UD. I want to get your jersey. You are a Miami
He's
legend.
He's a lifer.
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 You were going to be in a suit on that sideline. We know it.
Does he have the Bobby Bonilla contract for the Heat?
Right, the Bobby Bonilla. No, but they keep signing him to a 1-year deal, 1 year deal, 1 year. I mean, because nobody's coming after him. I mean, he's working on his 19th season?
I don't even know.
18th season
He's
now?
he's probably making less than $1 million a year. But
he's a legend in Gainesville.
He's got a paycheck,
and he is a all-time Miami athlete, professional athlete,
and he's huge in the community. Huge in the community. It's Dwayne Wade.
Nothing but love.
Nothing but love. And then him. Although right now it's probably not even Dwayne so much because he's got a lot of stuff going on with his family.
Dwayne gone Hollywood
and Mrs. Union and all the other stuff. But no, Haslem.
You knew his wife was going to drag him away from Miami a little bit. You knew that was going to happen.
Haslem is Miami. So
yeah, it's just that simple. Udonis is Miami.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about how there should be a Dwayne Wade Boulevard and a Pat Riley Expressway. I think that you should at least have a Udonis Haslem terrace. Or Udonis Haslem Street.
Causeway.
Okay, yeah, Causeway.
The Haslem Causeway.
The Haslem Causeway.
Perfect.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Definitely.
I'm on board with that.
And you know what? And honestly, and it should be in a black neighborhood because he does his best work, his most prolific work in black neighborhoods.
Yeah.
He has never forgotten where he is from, even though he is a millionaire multiple times over.
He's got lots of money.
Never forgot where he came from.
He's got some business ventures too. Is he
Sure.
Is he Starbucks? Does he have
He's got investments in Starbucks. He also has his own barber shop. He also has
He's got another.
He's also I believe the art walk that happens every year, the big art walk thingy.
Well, I know he does a lot of charity stuff too.
But he's big in art. He's huge in charity. I think Boys and Girls Club. He's like the biggest donor they have.
Yeah,
he's huge. With nothing but love for him.
Agree.
Okay, the rest of the NBA now and go.
How about them Sixers? Doc Rivers.
Crazy.
Yeah, here's the thing.
I told you Doc was going to get them together.
This always seems to be the thing with Doc, is he gets to a spot and it's like, wow, these guys can really play. These guys listen to their coach. These guys, is Embiid a leader now? I mean, is there somebody with a voice on that team?
They didn't have anybody that coached them hard. And now they got somebody who coaches them hard.
At no point do between Embiid and Simmons do you not have two of the best five guys, at least athletically and potentially talented in the entire league. At any point on the floor, no matter who they're playing,
Right.
between those two guys.
The sports media used to gang rape them after every loss, every kerfuffle.
But you know what? Part of their
tweet.
These guys are labeled right now.
You don't hear anything. You don't hear any of that now.
Well, it's
none
quite,
of it.
well when you win games. Obviously, it's a little harder to
Right.
criticize.
Well, you know the Philly press. They're brutal.
Oh, they're
I mean,
tough.
They
They're
are.
tough. But here's what Embiid's doing so far this year. He's 30-11. Okay, game after game. Now he's been hurt. He's been dealing with injuries, but he's playing. And to me, playing hurt says a lot. Okay. You want leaders on your team. You want guys that lead by example. You got a guy that's been hurt and still dominating. It's Embiid. Okay. Now they've got guys like Simmons, who we know what he is.
Grown ass men.
He's getting there. He's getting there.
That's what Doc makes you play like, a grown ass man.
Here's the key for that team that's been this year has been Tobias Harris. They got a guy now that can shoot, that can hit the open three, that can penetrate, that can play, that can fill the stat sheet.
Plays good defense.
Yeah, the guy can play. So between him and Simmons and Embiid, again, at any point, those three, I'll put those three against pretty much anybody in the league, as long as they're playing as a team, as long as they're playing like they are now, and as long as they're healthy, because they need Embiid. Embiid, to me, is their one. Okay, everybody else, Simmons is two, and Tobias is three. And it works like that.
Well, who's their GM now?
Oh, I don't
Is
know.
it still Elton Brand?
No, I don't think so. I think
Whoever their GM was, I mean, 3 years ago, they had to make the decision between keeping Jimmy Butler
yeah.
or keeping Tobias. Okay? And they made the right decision. They paid Tobias and they let Jimmy go. They did. I love Jimmy Butler. I'm happy as a pig in knee high in crap.
Well, here's the difference.
That he's here.
Not to
but
cut you, because again, you were looking at a system with
They
no
paid the
structure.
right guy.
Well, in Philly, they had a system with no structure, and Butler struggled. There were some
Right.
some head
Right.
case issues going on both sides. Again, there's always two sides of that story. Butler got a lot of blame, but again, you kind of think that maybe now there's equal blame. And now Butler comes to a situation with their structure, where he has a coach he respects, where he has other guys on the team that allow Butler to be Butler. And guess
Yep.
what? Now you got a guy you're getting the most out of Butler. Now Jimmy Butler to me is not, your top 5, 10 guy in the NBA, but he didn't have to be.
Nope.
He can be that top 15, 20 guy in the NBA,
Well, he's already got a top 10 guy.
but you know what you got every night with Jimmy Butler.
Because
You got-
Bam Adebayo is a top 10 guy.
he's getting there. He's stepped up. But
he's an elite guy.
But here's the thing: if you got 10 guys between 10 and 20, then you're doing okay. And,
Oh, yeah.
and the Heat have a lot of depth, and that's been the strength of their team. System, play well, play defense.
Okay, but we're back to Philly. We're going back to.
Well, because we're such Heat homers.
trailing back.
We're
to-
Heat homers. But anyway, because you mentioned Butler.
Right.
Okay, right now Philly is number 1 in the East at 20-10. They're playing it, and they're showing it, and they deserve to be
Kicking
there.
ass.
But it's going to be interesting to see down the stretch how they play. Simmons still can't. Let's talk about the knocks on Philly. Embiid and the injuries. Simmons can't hit a jump shot. And Rivers in terms of coaching in big games. Okay? 3 all big arguments that can be had that we'll have to see how it plays out. Okay? Now, again, you can go to every team and you can nitpick and you can say this, you can say that. But I think those 3 are legitimate problems. Okay? Embiid, if he's not on the court, they're not going to win. Simmons in spots where, again, he's had some big games this year where he's put in 20, 22 points, but that's not his game. He's not taking 15 shots a game. Okay?
He doesn't need to.
Well,
he's a facilitator.
But you still, at some point, your point guard has to score.
Right, but
Okay.
he doesn't. But the beauty, listen, the beautiful part about his game right now, and this is the beautiful part about his coach, is that he took the burden of being a primary scorer out of his hands.
He's never been a primary scorer.
Right,
Never.
Well,
so
but he's felt that pressure.
they wanted him to shoot the ball.
Right,
But
even with Butler there, they felt that pressure.
But now they got guys like Seth Curry that can hit a shot.
Bang.
Tobias can hit a shot.
Bang, bang.
So, again, maybe you're right. Some of the pressure's off of him, but still, when you're limited, as Simmons is, not being able to shoot the ball, as good as you are talented in other ways, you will get caught up on. Guys will adjust, and when you get in situations where you have to make a bucket, if you limit the opportunities on the floor, you weaken the team. And if Simmons can't take that shot, you're then dependent upon guys that have to take the shot.
Well, you take a look at Steph Curry. Okay, when Steph Curry came into the league under Mark Jackson's tutelage, okay, he came into the league and all he was a point guard that averaged about 7 assists a game, and all he could do was shoot the 3. That's all he could do, and he wasn't a physical player. Okay, but he developed. And once he got to year 3, put a little meat on his bones, got Draymond Green, started with the Splash Brothers, the whole 9 yards. It developed.
Thompson
So
was the heart of
Simmons-
that team
Yeah,
defensively.
yeah,
for
exactly.
sure.
Klay Thompson. Oh my God, they miss him so bad.
Yeah.
But right now, what you have is a situation where Simmons is going to develop. Now he's going to develop. The previous 3 years or four seasons now, they've been together for 4 years.
This is their third year together.
Their third year together?
Yeah.
Chaos. It's been chaos. Where he has been counted on to be the primary scorer, he hasn't been counted on to be he's in the secondary scorer.
Well, maturity is a whole big thing,
it's
too.
maturity, and yes, but they have, I'm telling you right now, if they don't contend for the East title, they are at least going to contend for the East title if take it outright and be in the finals. And then next year and the season beyond, then we're going to get to that point where we wonder whether or not they can win the big game because of their coach.
Yeah.
But right now, he's pushing all the right buttons.
There are 5 teams in the East, I feel, that will be there in the end. I know it's a weird number, but you get 8 teams to make the
Right.
playoffs.
Well, yes, let's do the top 5 in the East.
Well,
the
right
top
now,
5
in
the
terms of
West.
the standings, you got Philly and Brooklyn on top. Milwaukee, who has struggled at times, only because, again, they're still looking for that second guy. Middleton's been the second guy, at least in terms of depth chart and in terms of scoring option, in terms of percentage of usage. It's been Middleton.
Giannis made a huge mistake signing that extension. Huge.
They just need help. The issue has been, too, is they signed Drew Holiday. Okay, he's been hurt.
Right.
Okay, so they don't have a true point. They lost Bledsoe. They don't have a true point. So that's been an issue for them, and they'll get right. I mean, they got Giannis. I mean, Giannis.
Mako mistako.
They'll be fine. But to me, the top 5 teams are Philly, Brooklyn, Milwaukee. I think Boston, certainly with their coaching and how they play. They've had injuries too, and they're still in the mix. And I'm going to put the Heat in there as the 5th team because, again, we've seen what they've done when healthy, and I just kind of feel like, again, seeding's not going to matter. Even
Not
if the
Toronto?
Toronto's had some issues. Siakam has been good, but not great. They've got good scoring again, but they've dealt injuries too.
Great coach. Nurse is fantastic.
One of the best. Lowry's been in and out of the lineup.
Yeah.
They've gotten great contributions from Fred VanVleet, but they lack size and they have matchup issues. So
you want Cousins to go somewhere. You want PJ Tucker to go somewhere. Go to Toronto.
We'll see how that works out. Tucker's not a true
size
5.
and 3-point shooting right there.
A little bit. They may get some help there, but Cousins, to me, I don't know. He's a little long in the tooth for me too. Got a lot of baggage with Cousins as well. But anyway, so for me, that's the top 5 in the East. The West, we've talked about it. The Lakers, the Jazz right now are 24-6. They're number 1 in the West.
Let me tell you what. I watched that Miami Utah game. Okay, and what you saw, I'm telling you right now, Utah is doing exactly what the Warriors have done for the last 6-7 years. Okay, it's ball movement, open shots.
Jazz are the only team in the NBA top 5 in offense and defense.
Unbelievable.
So they're both sides of the ball.
Yeah, the defense. Well, the defense wasn't surprising because they've all got good. Gobert is a monster.
Rudy Gobert can play. Donovan Mitchell's been a beast.
Oh yeah. Steel monster.
Ingles, Bogdanovich, that's the whole lineup. Royce O'Neal at the 4.
Donovan picked Jimmy Butler's pocket 4 times, 5 times in that game.
Yeah.
Picked his pocket. If not causing an outright turnover, knocking the ball out of bounds, he was just pesky as hell. So
yeah, that team's good.
I'm impressed with Utah. I really am.
Team's good. Joe Ingles, I didn't mention him. Yeah, and they're
Ingles,
deep.
oh yeah,
they got a bench. So yeah, they're obviously not. But again, you get the Lakers and LeBron, who is just unbelievable when he does.
Super team.
26, 8, and 8, and makes it look seamless. Hasn't missed a game. The one issue we've talked about and is obviously glaring for them is Anthony Davis and his health.
Yeah.
Now, regular season, they're 7-2 without him so far.
Well, you called
7-3 because
you called it about Davis though. You really did.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, you were like, they're going to shut him down.
They're going to have to. He's already starting to show signs of wear with the injuries, and these are soft tissue problems.
Soft tissue.
And matter of fact, he's on TV right now. That's the issue that we're having with Davis is because they're going to need him in the playoffs. I mean, LeBron's 26, 8, and 8, as great as that is, can't get much greater, in terms of game by game in the playoffs where they're going to need him to score 40 every night. It's going to be tough for him. That's just not who he is.
They're showing the highlight package over my shoulder here on the TV because we're constantly monitoring the sports, just in case there's a breaking news story while we're on air.
Computers, phones,
We got all kinds of stuff
we're
going
just
on.
waiting.
All we need is Adam Schefter in here with his
Yeah.
4 cell phones. But I'm noticing the highlight package, and they're in LA. They're in the Staples Center on the Lakers home court, which is yellow and purple, and the Heat are wearing their two-tone South Beach cotton candy pink and blue.
Very awkward for me.
My head hurts watching that.
Yeah.
That's like too much yellow, gold, purple, pink, blue, baby blue, guys running around. It's like I'm getting a little dizzy.
I'm not sure I like it, actually.
There should be like one of those warnings about flashing lights, strobe lights causing people with neurological issues.
That's true.
That's just like,
Yeah.
wow.
They should sell those glasses that you buy when you go into the theaters. Those
Yeah.
the 3Ds or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's like you want to take your glasses off and just rub your eyes. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to wear something more neutral.
But you know what? A great game, though. 96-94 in that game yesterday.
I missed it.
Defensive
I was
game.
out at the comedy show last
I was
night. I
working,
missed it.
so I caught pieces. But still, good defensive game. You'd expect that from two of the better defensive teams in the league.
Of course.
Again, good game for the Heat. Being where they were on the road for so many games, the Heat are going to be fine. Not worried about the Heat, and they're 2 games under 500 record right now. Just not.
Right.
So they'll be fine. But again, the story in the West is going to be, again, Utah. It's going to be the Lakers. It's going to be the Clippers if they can ever play together.
Oh, no. Well, first of all, let me correct you right there, okay? The whole Clippers thing, doomed. Doomed.
Okay.
That is the most doomed thing I have ever seen. You have, with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, you have 2 guys that are cut from the same cloth, okay? 2 guys that have to have the ball to be effective. Who else is on the team that's going to be effective? Who else is on the team that's going to contribute?
Yeah.
Who? But Patrick Beverly?
No, I mean, he plays a little defense.
I mean-
They've got, listen, the strength of the Clippers is their bench, okay?
Patrick Beverly's turned into Dennis Rodman. You ever notice that?
Between Montrezl Harrell and they got Lou Williams. Again, Lou Williams is
No, we have Montrezl Harrell now. Harrell plays for the Heat now. Excuse me. Harrell doesn't play for the Heat. He sits on the bench injured for the Heat. But go ahead.
no, Montrezl Harrell is a Laker.
You sure he is?
100%. Yeah.
You sure?
Montrezl Harrell. Yeah. Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams are Lakers. That's the difference. Is the Lakers bench, the Clippers bench. Because the Clippers had him last year. So, not this year. Problem. Ultimately,
are doomed.
ultimately, the strength of the Clippers was their bench. You trade a few pieces, you lose a few pieces. You got guys that don't play every day. You got Paul George, who's hurt right now.
Mark my words, the implosion with them is going to come in the first round of the playoffs. They're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs, and they're going to blow that up because
depends who they
their
match up
owner,
against.
Their owner, Steve, what's his face, the super crazy billionaire, the guy, he's going to blow it up. I'm
Clippers
telling
are
you right
22-9 right now.
now. I don't care.
They're not hurting.
They suck.
Okay, you're anti-Clippers, obviously.
I'm just not happy with them.
Damian Lillard and what he does in Portland and their injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude's amazing. Let's talk a little MVP before we close it out.
Iguodala.
We got 5 guys in the running, okay? We got Jokic, who is the Joker, who is having another phenomenal year. Everything runs through him. He's probably the most gifted big man facilitator in the league.
MVP dark horse?
27, 11, and 8 right now.
Monster.
But again, here's the thing with Denver. They're sitting 7 in the West.
Yeah.
So MVP, I mean, okay, got it.
It's going to be the same old story.
We talked about Embiid and what he's doing. Lillard, we just mentioned on that team. No Nurkic, no McCollum. They're still viable. The dude's putting up 30 and 8 every night.
Stud.
You mentioned Curry and how minus Klay Thompson, the Warriors are viable. They're the 6th, I think, in the West right now. And he's averaging 36 and 6. So you got the 5 horses that are in the league.
I love that guy. You know that? I really do.
But for me, can we give LeBron James just exactly what he's due for once? Right now,
Sure.
MVP is LeBron
Sure.
James. Minus LeBron James, the Lakers are not sitting number 1 in the West, or number 2 at 22 and 9.
I still have my red number 6 jersey. Who are you kidding?
To me, outside of maybe Giannis being the MVP, because again, what is the MVP? The MVP is a guy in your team who's the most valued player. He may not be the best player in the league. He could be in the top 5 for discussion as best player. But minus that guy's contribution to that team, what does that team have? And minus LeBron James to the LA Lakers, Who are they?
Mediocrity.
Are they Anthony Davis led? He's not even
He's
playing.
the difference between mediocrity and excellence.
And the best, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, these other guys have arguments. There's a lot of season left to be played. We're only 30 games in for the most part. Doesn't seem that much, but we're about maybe 30, 40% through for the season. The All-Star break is coming up here, I think, in a few weeks.
Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of basketball left to be played, but LeBron James, to me right now, MVP of the league.
Okay. Transition.
Go.
Yeah, I like that good segue. Segue into baseball.
Love it.
Pitchers and catchers have reported.
We're here. Yeah.
We're here. It's happened.
Can we talk about the best catcher in baseball?
And
Who the Phillies finally signed to an extension? We're locked up.
JT Real Muto.
Oh, man, what a great catcher.
I had told you.
Gonna
over
retire
and
a
over,
Philly.
Watching him play here in Miami, watching him, I was like, okay, that's the guy. That is the guy. And I begged them to build a team around him. I said, please, just keep that guy and build a team around him.
Yeah.
Get rid of Stanton, gone. Get rid of Yelich, gone. Although they should have kept him. Get rid of Ozuna, gone.
Yeah.
Build a team around that guy, gone. Damn it.
Or at least kept Yelich's mom, because there's rumors going around the internet that there was some pictures circling around. Now, I personally haven't seen them. I'm going based
your mom's hot.
on what I was told, but in any case, yeah.
That's bad. Middle-aged perverts that are getting into milfs of 27-year-old Major League Baseball players. Your mom's hot.
Well, here's the thing. When their moms are younger than we are, okay, it becomes almost okay. Yeah, it's more of an indictment on our age than it is theirs. Yeah.
Teenage mom, right?
Next.
Huh? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, luckily if I'm a Phillies fan, we signed Real Muto.
You
We got him
lucky
locked down for a
prick.
while. Hopefully the Phillies will be in it. And again, a new GM in place too. That's a pretty good
Listen,
sign.
besides his offensive skills, okay, he makes any pitching staff better. Any pitching staff better.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clear as day when the Marlins traded him. Suddenly, the team ERA went through the roof. Team ERA was hovering at about 3.8 when he was the catcher, when he's the everyday catcher, and a week after he was gone, it was over 5.
Yeah.
Okay, through the roof, because nobody else could call a game the way he does. Nobody else was defensively excellent the way he was.
I think Jorge Alfaro was his replacement,
Jorge's got a lot of potential,
which was in the trade, which was in the Philly
Right.
trade because he was a Philly
right?
quarterback.
But he
and they
was
traded him
a
over.
baby though. He was a rookie. He was
He can hit a little bit though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hoping he continues to develop. I really do. But that's besides the Marlins. The Marlins have a lot going on right now. So
Yeah, well, I mean, the stories in baseball this year are the Yankees, like always, and the fact that
the Dodgers.
and what the Dodgers did again, getting Trevor Bauer. I mean, it's just like, what are we doing here? You know, it's
Well,
like
Major League Baseball. Listen, Major League Baseball knows where their bread is buttered.
yeah.
Because they have a profit sharing system. Okay, they definitely want at least one, if not two, if not three, if not four major market teams involved in the playoffs and the World Series. You want all those New York teams. You want all those LA teams. You want Houston. You want Arizona. You want Chicago, either Chicago team. You want all those major market teams. You want them involved in the playoffs. Philadelphia, because a lot of people don't seem to realize, except people that are from Philadelphia, Philadelphia also encompasses South Jersey, which there are a few people that live there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Philadelphia, the Philadelphia sports universe is very, very large. Okay, because Philadelphia is tucked in there in that southeast corner of Pennsylvania. So we're talking Western Maryland. We're talking West Virginia. We're talking Southern New Jersey.
the Phillies travel
Okay.
well. I mean,
Yeah.
all you have to do is look at because we're here in South Florida. When you go to any game, football,
Right.
baseball, you just have to look next to you to find who you're playing because they're wearing the jersey.
Sad but
so,
true.
Philly fans, I go down to see the Phillies play the Marlins a lot, and it's mostly Phillies fans. I mean, that's what we have.
And please take Bill with you, because every time Bill goes,
I've been to games with Bill.
lose, so.
I've been to games with Bill.
Yeah, and the Phillies lose every time Bill goes. So by all means.
He's at about 12% winning percentage right now in
Right.
his career. Yeah, so stay home, Bill. Yeah, so there's certainly the fans travel well. The Phillies fans travel well. So yeah, Philly fans it's a national brand. The Phillies are going to be viable.
Sure,
like
sure.
I said, new GM, and so hopefully things are in the right direction.
Well, sticking with the NL East, we've seen a changeover in ownership, management, a revisiting of management. It was Sandy Alcantara. So, what is it that makes you think that the Mets are going to be much improved this year?
I don't actually, because they're the Mets. And when the analogy I use for teams that haven't been there for a while, for a magnitude of reasons, you don't anoint them just because they make a few moves and they get a few players and they say they're changing the culture and all the things that teams are trying to do to make the changes, but yet they still get stuck in the mud year after year after year.
Right.
That's the Mets. Well, now, listen, the Mets have talent. But the Mets also have some bad deals. Cespedes deal didn't work. Paid him a SIT worth of money, and he hasn't performed. And they have a lot of other contracts, too. Now
He's gone now. He's a free agent.
I get that. But they still have money on the books. But again, with the Mets in baseball, it's a little different. They've got young talent. Jeff O'Neill. They've got other guys that can play. The pitching, DeGrom, they got one of the best pitchers in baseball. So, again.
Major League Baseball desperately wants the Mets to be good. They desperately want the Mets.
Sure, any New York team. I mean, listen, Yanks and Mets are viable. I mean, that's ideal for baseball.
That's good for baseball because they make money and they spread that money around.
Sure.
Now, Atlanta's made some good moves. They're coming back strong again.
Yes.
The Marlins have made The Marlins have made a whole lot of moves here in the offseason. Once again, Don Mattingly has survived the calls for his replacement. And once again, I tell all you people that want to replace Don Mattingly, he's forgotten more about excellent elite baseball play than you've ever seen. Yeah. I don't care who you are as a sports writer or a sports expert, Don Mattingly knows more.
You have to put credence in what people say in the industry as opposed to what the media says about a particular player or coach.
Right.
And everybody you talk to, obviously within the organizations, you don't
Donnie
think
Baseball
Jeter
is the man.
You don't think Jeter it has the ability to hire pretty much anybody he wants to at this point, but yet
6 rings say so.
But yet he picks Donnie. So again, there's history there clearly. I mean, that's proven. But again, there's got to be something else there just besides relationship.
Right.
So listen, at times I've been critical of Mattingly, again, because I'm that baseball guy that sits on the side and watches the games and goes, he's 2-1. Why is he not doing a hit and run? Or why are they not in the shift? Or any other nerdy baseball things that I look at. And I'm critical in that sense, and maybe to a fault. But he's there. He's the coach. He's not going anywhere. He's a big fan of, obviously, Jeter in the organization. He can develop talent, and the players like him. So, I mean, what else?
There you go. You said the D word right there.
Yeah.
That's the biggest reason that he is there, okay? Because they have time after time after time after time. They have sent him young players, quote, prospects, and put them in, and they have developed, okay? Now, when they get to the point where they have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of their prospects have now fully developed, and they're ready to get to that point where they need more of a competitive manager, then you may see them make a change. But that doesn't mean that Donnie's going to get fired. That means he's going to get kicked up to the front office.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I can see a situation like that.
It's the Yankee way.
Yeah.
Let's face that.
That's true. Listen, Jeter certainly has brought culture, I'm assuming, to the organization.
Oh, yeah.
A winning culture, a system. I'm sure he's got good people around him. The difficulty down here, again, is attendance and other issues. But fortunately for baseball, you don't need to put people in the seats to make money.
Yeah, well, we're one of the only one of the only teams that doesn't have to adhere to COVID protocols to have a game with people. It's like, nah, we'll just sell regular tickets. We'll do. Hey, tell them I said hi.
I'm on the show. What are we doing here?
So last year, the priority was there you go. Last year, the priority was starters. Actually, the last 2 years were starters. And now they've shed a few of those starters. And this year in the offseason has been bullpen. They have gone out and gotten a bunch of middle relief guys. They're still trying to find their closer. but they have their starting rotation. They're thinking about going 6 deep on their rotation.
Yeah, they have some young guys in the rotation.
I mean, and they're lady boss. Their female general manager, which I don't necessarily like to parse female versus male because she's not out there swinging the bat. She doesn't need to have baseball experience as far as, all she needs is baseball experience as far as evaluating talent. But from what I understand, she was a pretty fair softball player and basketball player when she was in college. So she is an athlete. She understands the mechanics of the game.
Jimmy Johnson never played football.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it can be
done. Or
done.
at least not well.
It can be done. Yeah.
Right. So let's see. What else we
Bill Parcells never played football.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had the Phillies, Braves, Mets, Marlins, Nationals. Who cares?
Juan Soto.
There you go.
Listen, I seen that dude on MLB Network. I watch a lot of.
Right.
And there's a term that they use. It's called placata. Placata means, I'm assuming, making amazing contact, hitting it a mile. Okay. They were using, when I was a kid in New York, 6, 7 years old, they used to play stickball, which is a very difficult game because you're using a broomstick and you're hitting a ball, and the broomstick diameter is like this.
Dominica es placada.
Placada. So they were doing it where they were hitting bottle caps. Okay. Kevin Millar was throwing Juan Soto bottle caps, okay, sideways, over the top, whatever it was, and he was smoking the bottle caps with a broomstick. Never seen anything like it.
Yep.
And they were amazed. They were like, wow, this kid is and will be, my guess, well over 500 home runs in his career if he stays healthy. That's not even a stretch. I mean, and he plays in a ballpark that's not conducive to hitting the home run. But he is so strong, so talented, so good that that's a guy this year that's on my radar to be perhaps, if the Nationals are viable, MVP. Certainly the National League.
Well, we're entering a dead ball era now because Major League Baseball has unwound or wound the balls differently because of the plethora of home runs last year.
We'll see how that plays out.
Oh, gee whiz, why have the most exciting moment in your game happen over and over again?
Yeah.
Because tired of everybody hitting home runs over the hitting. Easily the dumbest thing I have ever heard Major League Baseball do.
Yeah, well, listen, I think they've done everything in their power to speed the game up and to create more offense in terms of with the extra inning rule now putting a guy on second base, DHs in the National League. So everything has been more and bringing fences in. Certain stadiums have brought fences in.
Ruining the game.
Well, I'm opposed to scoring runs. I'm not sure of the argument.
Well,
because
baseball is not a short attention span game. It's not. Let's just face that fact.
You want
it's
action.
Not a short attention span game. Okay? All you have to do is look at the root sport that this game is derived from, cricket. Have you ever watched a cricket match on BBC or any other? I mean, a full cricket match.
I've never sat and watched a whole match, but I've
That
watched
crap lasts 4.5 hours.
It's a long time. Yeah,
a long time.
It's a long time.
And in in India and in Europe, stadiums 80, 90, 100, 120,000 people, and they're there for every chukker, every at bat, every pitch. Okay, and they're there yelling, screaming at 4.5 hours.
Yeah,
it's like a Bruce Springsteen concert in the 70s.
They don't cut the alcohol sales after the 7th inning. See, that's the thing.
Well,
they let it rip.
Well,
plus they probably have tailgating parties over there that last for days, and it's a different environment. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, but listen,
why rob us of the pleasure of having a baseball game? So what if the game goes 2.5, 3 hours? So what?
They're hoping it goes 2.5 hours. They have cut it back. I think the average time of a game last year fell at about 2 hours and 55 minutes. That's down from what it was. Because, again, the games were lasting. But to me, and I agree with you, the Yankees and the Red Sox games, they average, I think, over the last several years, north of 4 hours per matchup. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that.
Fine.
First of all, when you go to a baseball game, it's one of the rare sports where you can go to a baseball game, and even though, at least for me, I'm watching a lot of things because I know the game, I think, a lot, or at least pretty well. But you can get up, you can go to the bathroom, you can get yourself a drink, you can talk to you can get on the phone, you can check your stocks, and you're still in the bottom of the 6th inning. there's not that sense of urgency at a sporting event where they rush you in, they rush you out. You can leave in the 7th inning if you want to. You can get there in the 2nd. It's that sort of environment, and I love that about baseball. Is yes, there's urgency in all sports, and there's urgency in baseball too. But you can still bring your kids, get to the stadium, especially in the Marlins, where there's only about 9 people there watching the games anyway, and enjoy a Sunday afternoon and not feel like you're under any sort of pressure.
But I don't get the sense of urgency.
Well, you don't need it. You don't need it in baseball sometimes like that. I find urgency in baseball because I look for things that get me excited, which the bunt in baseball gets me excited.
Sure.
But there are many things in the sport that you can key in on that can fill that time slot, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is. But you got to realize this too. In TV revenues, again, sure, they'd like to run 1,000 commercials in a 4-hour slot.
Sure.
But it kind of loses some of its thing. They have to fill those time spots. They don't want 4-hour games. They want 3-hour games. They want to be able to create that environment of urgency through timing alone. And I agree with you. I don't think you have to do that so much for baseball.
Give me a 10-inning, 9 to 8 game with lead changes at the bottom of the 9th, top of the 10th, bottom of the 10th for the winning, the walk-off, I don't know, single, double, home run, whatever. Okay, give me 10 innings, 3.5 hours. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you're engaged in the game, and the game is just going back and forth, it's not just, I mean, 'cause honestly, honest to God, one of the most boring things you can ever see, and people will disagree with me all day, one of the most boring things you'll ever see is a 1 or 2 hit pitching performance.
I don't mind that at all.
1 or 2
I don't mind
hit
it at all.
pitching performance.
So Nolan Ryan's boring. Now, come on.
No, a no-hitter.
Yeah.
A no-hitter is
Well,
great.
actually, he
And
has the
Nolan
most-
Ryan would strike 15 guys out.
He has the most one-hitters in baseball history.
Right.
So, but again.
But he would strike people out. Nowadays, you got guys, they're not striking people out. They're just inducing ground balls,
Well,
hitting into shifts.
I disagree a little bit. The strikeout rates are higher than they've ever been. But here's what's going to help your argument. Unfortunately, there aren't many people that act and think like you and I when it comes to baseball. I love baseball. I can sit there for 4 hours and watch baseball.
Sure.
Unfortunately, most people can't. So I get what it is they're trying to do. Some of the other rule changes that you may have forgotten, but now pitching changes are limited. You bring a pitcher in, he's not facing one guy anymore. It's a minimum of 3 batters per pitcher. Again, why? Speed the game up. We mentioned the extra inning thing. Again, extra innings, you can't afford for these staffs in a 162-game season to have a 22-inning game because that wrecks you for weeks because of your bullpen allocation.
Let me
they're
tell
trying
you.
to get away from that, too. They're trying to protect the players in a sense as well. So I understand the changes, and I'm okay with that, but not in a pure effort to just shorten the game. I mean,
listen, I have spent many a night at Pro Player, Joe Robbie, whatever you want to call it, stadium with Marlins games, back when they used to have the promotion with Krispy Kreme donuts, that if we got 12 hits, we got a free dozen donuts.
I remember, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm staying at that bitch until the 11th inning, the 12th inning.
I get it. You're getting your dozen.
It's 1:15 and I am still there, and they've got 11 hits.
Yeah.
And when he hits that, they get that 12th hit.
All 14
at the
people jump
bottom
up
of the
and go,
11th.
woo!
I mean, it's just a single. It didn't even score a run.
Yeah.
But, no, actually, there would be a couple of thousand people that would stay to be
I know.
woo!
Yeah, donuts for everybody.
I
Crickets.
have, and this was a game against the Cardinals. I stayed until the top of the 10th inning, and the Marlins only had 4 hits. And this game went 13 innings. Got home, listened to the game on the radio, where all of a sudden they got 6 hits, 7 hits, 8 hits, 9 hits, 10 hits. I get home, flip on the TV, 12th hit. Ticket stub's good. I'm at home. Woo! What? And you can't duplicate that. You keep speeding the game up. It's like stop. It's a pastoral. It's the pastime, and it is a pastoral game.
It's a game of purists.
Yes.
The purists, to a fault, though, have kind of, I think, slowed the game down a bit, technically, and kind of brought it to a halt in certain ways.
TV has done that.
Innovation is good in sports. Change is good in sports. The NFL is king at that. They don't sit pat on anything. They're the innovators.
Well,
I
they've
think
done
baseball
very well with that.
I think baseball needs to kind of take a swing, for a lack of better analogies, at being a little more innovative. And they have, and they've made some changes.
They've brought in instant replay and stuff like that.
Well, the
That's
DH to me, I think, is huge.
They should put it. I'm telling you, the DH should be in the National League.
Oh, it is now. It is now. It's officially internationally. There's DHs this year on both sides.
Yay!
So that's a win.
I like offense.
Well, again, it's a big disadvantage for the pitchers in the American League. Their ERAs were generally a half a run higher. Because why? You're not getting the automatic out in your lineup like you did in the National League. Now you got guys that are building. I mean, David Ortiz built a career off the DH.
Was Manfred a pitcher, or was that what it was?
Yeah,
I mean,
he was a pitcher. He was probably a catcher. No pun intended. But anyway, the point what I'm saying is that these guys now that they get it, I think baseball's in a good spot. I think all sports are in a good spot post-COVID. As long as we can get past this whole COVID thing and build in the right direction. And I think you're seeing it. I think the TV numbers are going to continue to improve, and hopefully, at least for baseball, the attendance numbers, when it's time to get back to normal again, you see those numbers continue to rise like they've been over the last several years.
well, and at the risk of skirting the fringes of politicization, what you have now in order to mitigate the COVID problem is now we're starting to see the full weight of the federal government being put to test with FEMA and the military. And I mean, before the military was involved in testing, but now when you have the vaccine and the full weight of FEMA and the full weight of the military going into the effort to curb the virus and get us to a herd immune state.
Hopefully.
We can start having crowds. Look at Australia. Australia and New Zealand are ultimate success. Did you see the Australian Open?
Yes.
Packed stands.
Yeah.
Okay. Their infection rate is below influenza. Okay, their influenza rate is higher. We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, so that's going to wrap things up for us here. I'm going to try to get out of here before he says the A word.
Aliens.
You got any aliens updates? No?
They're there.
They're there.
I think I seen one last night.
Well, as long as they're still there.
I saw one at work last night.
At last.
Yeah.
You saw lots of alien stuff last night.
Oh, my gosh. It's getting worse and worse.
Let me tell you about my Friday. Oh, my groceries. But another great sign that we're getting back, we're inching our way closer to normal,
whatever that
or
is.
Normality.
Yeah, sure.
Because
we're calling it.
People are coming out. People are coming out.
Yep.
It's starting to look like February 2020.
They're surfacing.
The
dregs of society are now out.
Yeah, y'all got bananas last night, though. I heard it was crazy.
Yeah, it's too much.
Too much. All right. On behalf of myself and the Maz, say goodbye to the nice people.
See you later, people.
And you can catch him at MLB Joy Us on the Instagrams. You can catch me at Search Gonzo Radio on pick a platform, any platform. And you can check out our hijinks and our posts and stuff like that and updates. And we'll keep you up to date on sports, especially hockey. Big shout out to Chris Turner out there, by the way, our hockey correspondent, our Florida Panthers correspondent, by the way. Florida Panthers kicking all kinds of ass lately. Although they did drop a 2-1 set last night to the Red Wings, but I think they'll recover. So big shout out to you, Chris Turner, for helping us cover that on the Gonzo Radio's group page. And you got to get over on the fan page too, Chris. Got to post over there too. So once again, on behalf of me, thank you so much for watching. We will be back again next week. I can confidently say you can also expect the Gonzo Radio show. This thing right here, Monday night, 9 p.m. Put it in your calendar. Right after the right after the Blame Girl show at 7, with Giovanni Neal and she's going to be and Terry Wayne, of course. She's going to really be laying it down. I think there's going to be a Rush Limbaugh eulogy in there somewhere too. So that ought to be really interesting. So by all means, keep an eye here on the Gonzo Radio Network, www.gonzoradionetwork. Go ahead and sign up, subscribe to our website.
Do all that.
Because things are going to start moving and growing because I have extricated my cranium from my lower regions. So on behalf of myself and the Mass, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week. And you know what would be really helpful is if I had the ender.